first topic is
Yes.
the new Cowboy Bebop trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and forgive me about this, but Logan, are you a Cowboy Bebop fan?
I am familiar with it. Back when some of the earlier Toonami programming schedules of Cartoon Network, Cowboy Bebop was one of the ones that they had on. I feel like it was like, what was it? It was like Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, Outlaw Star, and Cowboy Bebop or something that was like on in like a 2-hour block kind of after when I got home from, I don't know, school or work or whatever, class, something. And so I'm familiar with it. I can't say I liked it as much, but I also know that I never really caught it from the beginning. And a lot of times, with anime, it's helpful not to jump randomly in the middle of a X number of episode series.
Well, I know Netflix is showing the first season again. Mm-hmm. So, maybe we'll host some watch parties.
Yeah, that would be good to catch up.
Exactly. I think,
or refresh, see how it works.
Exactly. And I'm almost like you, because I remember seeing episodes, but I never watched like the entire thing together. And I loved the because again, when I look at anime in that fashion, it reminds me of the old Robotech, kind of like a lean, crisp animation and with an adult theme and a lot of blood and violence. And again, for a TV series, for basically kids cartoons.
Yeah.
I remember watching Robotech, and that was like probably the first time I saw somebody die in a cartoon, and it was very traumatic. For those who are Robotech fans, it was Roy, and he was in a mission, and he came back and he got out of his cockpit, and then like the cleanup crew came and they looked in his cockpit, and apparently he was just dripping in blood because he'd just been riddled with bullets. And again, very great stuff for like a 8-year-old to watch.
Yeah. I remember the first one from G.I. Joe. Remember all the controversy when they did that?
The movie or the series?
The series.
What? Yeah. Okay. Now they're famous for missing targets. Who died in G.I. Joe?
I was ungodly young, so it was not necessarily appropriate. But my older cousin showed it to me because he was like, "Oh, like there's actually real stakes in this, and like somebody actually dies. Like it's totally real." And like you would do when you're under the age of 10.
Yeah.
That was the first one I remember. I don't remember off the top of my head who it was. I was not allowed to watch G.I. Joe at my house, but when we were visiting, well, rules were different. so that worked out well. But that one, and I feel like there were a bunch of deaths in Mobile Suit Gundam Wing that also really kind of stuck out. Dragon Ball Z there was, but nobody stayed dead, so it didn't really count.
Well, they died and they just went to a different reality.
Yeah. And then, did a dance, touched fingers, and came back to life. So there you go.
Well, and what I always loved about Dragon Ball Z deaths is how in America, they have this censorship.
Yes.
So they went to, like what happened is they went to, Ramon, you're saying Tatum Channing. What about him?
He was in the new movies.
Oh, you're thinking about the live action. No, I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, we're talking like 80s G.I. Joe.
Yeah, 80s anime. Yeah, I hear. Yeah. Tatum Channing died. He dies in a lot of stuff. Died in the Quentin Tarantino. What was that? The winter one. Hateful Eight. Yeah, he died in the Hateful Eight. Quentin Tarantino Western, but So my bigger point is that and I think Logan, I'm gonna meet you halfway here. I think let me ask you this. I'm gonna describe the death scene in G.I. Joe that I remember.
Okay,
and this was from the movie because I remember they came out with 2 movies. They came out with G.I. Joe came out with one where they had Serpentor, which was basically a genetic splicing of all the evil leaders throughout history, your Stalins, your Hitlers, your Attila the Huns, and they made a clone snake guy called Serpentor, and
Okay.
and and then this is like a horrible soap opera because then they also revealed that Cobra Commander was in fact an alien from another planet, and they basically sent them to Earth to overtake everything. And he had like a whole bunch of eyes. That's why he wore a mask, because he wasn't human. And but I remember that they GI Joes were making an assault on some Cobra fort, and Serpentor, right out of Conan, he took a snake and threw it, and it went right through the chest of Duke.
Maybe it was the movie. That actually sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the only death I ever remember seeing.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and it was very visceral. There was blood and everything.
Oh yeah.
No,
you might be right. Maybe it was.
And again, it's not like there was it was slightly better animation. It wasn't. Yeah, a little more fluid, a little more man hours in those Korea sweatshops where they forced people to make these things. Because again, it was all the same animation. You could tell, and I loved watching them when you'd see the hands were gloves, but they were flesh colored because the guy didn't color them in. Whoever was doing it, again, horrible working conditions. Back in those days, it was. But they did it. They cranked out. Thousands and thousands of sheets per week. It was insane. But let's get back to Cowboy Bebop. And the
so I think first reactions. One, I didn't expect the musical choices. I didn't expect it to literally almost be, Bebop in some ways. Like, it was very, very, very interesting, the choices, especially when you're thinking that it's, a space Western kind of a thing, at least as far as I remember from the anime. I would have expected a little more, I don't know, not that. I don't know what I was expecting, but not that at all.
Well, you know what? I think, and again, I'm telling you, I'm going to kickstart your memory, because I think there is a scene in Cowboy Bebop where, because they're bounty hunters, there's like this like a stream of the organization that hires them or puts out the bounties, and it's Western themed. There's like, an African, I don't want to say he's African American, he's a black guy in a cowboy outfit and a woman in a cow girl outfit, for lack of a better term. And they say, and they're the ones that are making the announcement, so-and-so bounty for 500, oolongs or whatever the amount. But that's the only real Western thing. Everything else is kind of Blade Runner, kind of noir. And the only reason why that threw me is that you said that about the music, because that music was actually taken from the original soundtrack.
That's wild. And I obviously didn't see many of them, and to be honest, maybe confusing it a lot more with Outlaw Star, which I saw a lot at the same time.
That I can see. But
I mean, it was kind of described from, I thought, Netflix as a action-packed space Western.
Yeah,
even though it may not be accurate, but I mean, it was almost it was almost a lot more Shaft in space if you were just listening to it than space Western.
Space Western, I think they're using that in the loosest term, like because it's a bounty hunter.
And look, space Western, I'm probably immediately heading back to Firefly and Serenity, which works for me, but obviously may have nothing to correlate with this.
I would say, and this is why I think I get why they would say space Western.
Yeah.
But I will say this: most of it takes place in cityscapes, in futuristic cityscapes. So, when I think of Western, I'm thinking of like Firefly on a dirt planet or something like that. On something that's industrialized. But they're landing in places that look like 10 times the size of New York. It's just it swallows you up. So but again, let's do some watch parties and we can reacquaint ourselves with the entire the entire Bebop story.
Yeah,
because in the series, I remember a lot of saxophone, and it was just like Blade Runner, where it's I now let's talk about the characters. They did have the primary characters.
Yes.
They had Spike
Yep.
and the other two. I forget their names. And Einstein, the little corgi.
Okay.
So,
okay.
But
yeah,
not,
I mean, look, anything. John Cho deserves all the leading parts and the A-list money. I love watching him in whatever he does. I am a fan. I am a fan.
Now, I'm definitely a fan of John Cho.
Yes.
Do not get me wrong. Don't hate me, internet. This is not something that's anti-John Cho. I never bought him as the Spike character.
Okay.
But it could just be because of what I know him from.
Mm-hmm.
When I see Spike, for some reason, and I'm definitely not trying to have some sort of cultural appropriation, even though I don't think Spike is technically Japanese. But I see the character as more of a Ryan Gosling, kind of like a detached stone, and also because he played that role in Blade Runner.
That's what I was going to say. You couldn't have Ryan Gosling play this too. Not that he probably would, but
right. Yeah,
because he did that.
Ramon's right. They could always, darken it up, give him a little spiky. If you, I'll tell you what, out there, if you want to see Ryan Gosling with emo hair, he was in a movie called Stay. Came out a long time ago with him and Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts. Really interesting one, very trippy. I don't want to give it away, but there's some spoilers involved. But he plays, his character plays kind of a depressed artist that's going to a psychiatrist, played by Ewan McGregor, a much younger Ewan McGregor, like right out of Trainspotting a couple of years, Ewan McGregor. But it was interesting, and so he can pull off the hair, Ramon. That's all I'm saying. But here's the thing. I want to say this now, and hopefully I'm proven wrong. John Cho, fine. I hope and I will give them the chance to show me because the last time I remember seeing him fighting was playing Sulu on Star Trek. Which is fine, but again, I guess I haven't seen that much range, so maybe he kills it, and I'll be a bigger fan of his than I am. Here's what I'm seeing when I see this trailer, and it almost makes me cringe a little, and you'll get what I'm going for when I say this. I'm seeing Wachowski Speed Racer. You get where I'm going.
I know where you're going with that. Yeah.
I think they're trying to make an anime. I think they're trying to make a movie look like anime, or they're trying to really. And again, here's the irony: they're trying to really stick true to the animation style and the slickness of it, and kind of making it like a live action anime. And you know where that goes. It looks.
Look, I mean, if we're gonna go right there, what live action version of an anime has been critically and publicly good?
That's my fear. That's exactly my fear.
That's the whole fear with this whole thing, is that I don't think there has been a series that you can point to that's been like, all right, you've cracked the anime curse, or the bridge, or whatever the terminology is.
It's been the same way with video games and anime. You cannot take those properties and just. Well, you can, but I think that whoever's, in the boardroom is just throwing money at it instead of just really good writer-director.
I think the closest, and I'm willing to be wrong, but the closest as far as a good video game to movie adaptation has been the Resident Evils. Not that they've been good, but they've been watchable, they've been consistent, and they've told bit of a story, a short story maybe, over 6 movies? Yeah.
Airbender. Oh.
You might as well just go back to the Dragon Ball Evolution and talk about James Marsters as Piccolo. So let's not go there.
Too soon.
But anyway,
for that,
so it's just, there's that hurdle that just I don't think anybody's quite gotten yet.
And I was so hopeful for Assassin's Creed. with Michael Fassbender.
Yes.
Huge Michael Fassbender fan. The guy
Yep.
could do no wrong in my mind until he, tried to do a video game adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
And the same. Well, and again, going back to the anime, here's the closest, and I think they shot themselves in the foot, but the closest, I'd say loyal but still technically grounded adaptation was Ghost in the Shell. And I know that is probably, controversial, and there was a whole bunch of stuff with, Scarlett Johansson, but the aesthetic and kind of the storyline until the end where it completely went off the rails was kind of on track with the series a little bit. And again, I'm saying closest, not pulled it off, but at least the dart hit the wall and didn't go right into the floor, with someone like so many of these other ones have.
So many.
Yeah, but that being said, Cowboy Bebop. The thing that really made me a little concerned is I also saw a lot of like neon lighting.
Yes.
And it reminded me a lot of Joel Schumacher's Batman, where they're trying to make it look. It also reminded me of, and I'm going to go way back in time now.
Okay.
Do you ever see Creepshow, the movie?
I don't think I have.
Oh, you got to see that. It's Creepshow was basically like Twilight Zone, but it was a series of small horror vignettes, and it was shot. Everybody was in it. Ted Danson, Sam Nielsen. It was a play on like if a kid. Ramon has. It was a play on like if a kid had a comic book of a whole bunch of little horror stories, and like the comic book would. A kid's mother threw it in the trash, and then the one would blow, and it would go to a certain page, and then it would be that episode of it. So it was really good. That being said, they tried to make it look like a comic book brought to life with the Dutch angles, So again, could be wrong. I'm just feeling it.
Hey, willing to give it a shot. Like I said, anything, we'll all see what John Joe's got. I didn't have a problem with the action and the fight choreography. It looked sharp, looked quick. Depending on how many cuts they end up going with it, I think it's the difference between an Iron Fist and a Daredevil. When you've got so many cuts that you're getting sick to try and make the fight scene work, or do you have maybe not one full take that's exhausting because that's just next level, but at least fewer cuts that kind of can paint a whole picture. What I saw looked good. I'm looking forward to at least giving it a shot.
And to be fair, I want to watch the animated series again because, like you, I think I've just seen episode. Months fly by, then another episode, so you don't really get the full story arc or anything like that. Because I don't know anything about Spike's background or how he became a fighting, guy, and Ramon says that the fighting choreography is horrible. So
see,
and he could actually do fight choreography, so I can't argue with Ramon on that. If anybody, please check out Ramon's. Ramon, what's your leave in the message what your YouTube channel is so the fans can check you out, because he does some amazing videos, and you definitely got to check it out. So we will see, and I'm sure the closer we get to that, we'll probably get maybe a final trailer and
November 16th. It's not too far away.
Oh, that's right. It's on Netflix or
yes, Netflix.
Okay, then that's we're going to be there before you know it. Jeez.
We'll be there.
Yeah, so very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And so let us go on forward. So that was Cowboy Bebop. Jean Cho hopefully will surprise me, and hopefully this will not be a Joel Schumacher Batman. Fingers crossed. This will maybe be the thing that breaks the anime curse.
It's worth checking out.
I will check it out, and
yeah,
and we'll get back to you and let you know our thoughts on it.